article called Confessions of a Hopeless Optimist, and you can find it on my website. Well, this has been another great week for my thesis. So let's start with the negative predictions of expert analysts. I've been pointing out the shortcomings in the Imperial College study, which indicated that the world could suffer as many as 91 million deaths. There was a competing study done at Oxford College right around the same time, which indicated that the virus was much more contagious, but far less deadly, and suggested that it was even possible that so many people had already been exposed that we were closer to herd immunity than anyone currently believed. Well, this week, large-scale antibody tests were rolled out in California, Boston, and New York, which all found that the virus is significantly more prevalent than we believed just last week. In California, researchers believe that at least 50 to 80 times as many people have already been infected with the virus. In Chelsea, Mass., a random study indicated that an astounding 32% of subjects had virus antibodies, and in New York, it was just about 14% of random subjects. Keep in mind, these are all people who didn't even know they had the virus. Their symptoms were so mild and even non-existent. These tests are making it clear that the virus is much more prevalent, but much milder than we previously thought, and that the death rate is much lower than we thought just a week ago. Of course, there's a great deal of controversy over this data and the implications for future public policy, which I will let the politicians and the Twitter pundits fight that one out, and I'm not going to get into controversy here. But to me, the clear good news is that we now know that the death rate from the virus is a mere fraction of the rate we thought just a week ago. Many more people have already had it, and in most cases they were so asymptomatic that they didn't even know they had it, which also makes it possible that many more people now have natural immunity. Dare we even say that we might be closer to herd immunity than we even thought. Of course, more research needs to be done on the possibility of reinfection, but for now, it appears that the Oxford College thesis may not be that far-fetched after all. My main point is that in most crisis situations, the game gets changed by human ingenuity. So more news on this front. Our ground war of social distancing is showing signs that new cases and deaths in the U.S. are rolling over and daily counts are slowing down. By now, most states have published plans for ending the lockdowns based on new data. Several therapeutic drugs are either in human trials already or are even being used now, with hundreds of anecdotal success stories of people who have been cured. In particular, a drug from Gilead Sciences continues to show significant promise. There's a much larger study of this drug underway right now, which hasn't been published, but the lead researcher on the study has suggested that the majority of patients have done very well. The doctors on the ground are learning new things every day about how to defeat the virus, and hospitalizations are declining thanks to better treatments. Anecdotal miracle cure stories are piling up, and last week in New York City, hospital discharges outnumbered new admissions for 6 straight days, and on net, over 2,600 more people left the hospital than were admitted in New York. The Mayo Clinic has been conducting a large-scale test of the use of blood plasma from people with COVID antibodies as a way to help infected people fight off the disease, and the researchers have characterized their results as extremely promising. This could be a huge breakthrough given what we now know about the large population of people who have antibodies who could be blood donors. Finally, the all-important testing effort continues to ramp up. The FDA approved a virus testing kit which can be done in the home, and Quest Labs announced that they will ramp up daily testing to 150,000 tests a day starting early next month. As for the equity market, the S&P 500 had a relatively quiet week. So far, through Friday morning, the market has generally held on to its monster gains from the last 2 weeks and is down just about 1.5% for the week. This week, I'd like to repeat my advice from last week because it's probably getting worse. I know that you're reading very intelligent-sounding articles that are discussing the new normal and how the economy that emerges from the quarantine will look nothing like anything we've ever known before. I know these articles sound smart and they're compelling, and they're scary as hell. They make it sound more like we'll be living in caves in 5 years, much less enjoying a stock market recovery. I urge you to remember, the presence of these articles is the most reliable sign that uncertainty, fear, and panic are at a peak. I know these articles like the back of my hand, and I've read hundreds of them in my career, because this is the kind of press that starts to emerge in a crisis every single time. I don't pay them much attention because the new normal economy that has always emerged from these crisis moments has always been bigger and better and more rewarding for patient equity investors. Everybody loves to quote Warren Buffett, who counseled us to be greedy when others are fearful. Well, in case you haven't noticed, most of the people around you are fearful right now. I'll close with 2 great pieces of advice I heard from a video that someone sent me this week. First, a lot of people are struggling right now, and many are feeling like the weight of the world is on their shoulders. If that's you, go easy on yourself. You aren't perfect, and you don't have to be. All you have to do is get up in the morning every day, put one foot in front of the other, and do the very best you can to move forward today. And second, this is going to end. Maybe it won't be in mid-May, and maybe it won't be in mid-September, but it will pass. The world may look a lot different when it does, but it is going to pass. I'm expecting that when it does, the world's going to get a lot better, just the way it always has in the past.